Help us hit our first 1,000 subscribers. Your support drives us to create even more wonderful stories. Thanks for being part of our journey. In this video, he thought she was away on a business trip, until he tracked her phone straight to a cheap motel room. What he found inside shattered his entire life. It was a rainy Thursday evening when Emma came rushing into the house, soaked and flustered, announcing she had been called away for an urgent business trip. Tyler looked up from the couch, surprised by her sudden panic, especially since she rarely traveled for work. She barely gave him time to ask questions, tossing clothes into a bag and mumbling something about an overnight stay at a conference 2 cities away. Tyler forced a supportive smile, but deep down, a small knot formed in his stomach. She didn't mention this trip before, and the way she avoided meeting his eyes only fueled his growing unease. As she kissed him goodbye, her lips brushed against his cheek mechanically, lacking the warmth he was used to. After Emma left, the house felt eerily empty. Tyler tried to focus on the game playing on the TV, but he couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that something was off. Hours passed, and as he wandered around the house aimlessly, he noticed her iPad lying on the kitchen counter. He hesitated. Tyler wasn't the jealous type, but tonight felt different. He tapped the screen, and to his shock, the device unlocked without a password, revealing her open text messages. At first, the conversations looked innocent, exchanges with coworkers, family chats, promotional spam. But then one thread stood out, a string of messages with a contact saved under the name MS-comma, littered with heart emojis and phrases like, "I can't wait to see you tomorrow night." Tyler's heart slammed against his ribs. He opened the chat fully, and the last message made the world tilt under his feet. It simply read, "Same motel, same room, can't wait." He set the iPad down, his hands trembling. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe there was an explanation. But deep inside, Tyler knew better. Something about the rush, the half-hearted goodbye, the forgotten iPad. It all painted a very different picture, a picture he wasn't ready to face. That night, sleep didn't come. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, battling the urge to call her or confront her immediately. Instead, a chilling thought crept into his mind. What if he just followed her? If she had nothing to hide, he would have nothing to find. But if she did, Tyler needed to know the truth. He needed to see it with his own eyes. And so, just before dawn, he made a decision that would change his life forever. Keep watching, because in the next chapter, Tyler will take a risk that will shatter everything he thought he knew about his marriage. Don't miss what happens next. It will only get more shocking, coming up in the next chapter. The morning light barely broke through the gray clouds as Tyler sat in his car, engine humming softly, staring at the street ahead. He had barely slept, and his mind raced with 1,000 doubts. But one thing was clear. He couldn't just sit at home pretending everything was fine. Emma's car had left about an hour earlier. She said she was going straight to the conference center 2 cities away. But Tyler had a different plan. Gripping the steering wheel tighter, he pulled out of the driveway and started following the GPS location he had secretly activated on her phone months ago, a feature they had agreed on for emergencies. The drive felt surreal, almost dreamlike. Every red light seemed to mock him. Every turn seemed too slow. What if he was wrong? What if he was about to destroy his marriage over a misunderstanding? But as he neared the outskirts of the next town, the uneasy feeling deepened. Instead of heading toward the city center where the conference was supposedly happening, Emma's signal led him toward a much quieter area, an area lined with cheap motels and truck stops. His chest tightened when the blinking blue dot finally stopped at a rundown motel called the Whispering Pines. It was the kind of place you rented by the hour, not by the night. And there, parked discreetly behind the building, was Emma's unmistakable red SUV. Tyler parked his car at a distance, his hands shaking slightly as he watched the entrance. Minutes dragged by, and then he saw her. Emma stepped out of the SUV, wearing not her usual business attire, but a casual dress, the one he remembered she used to wear when they first started dating. But she wasn't alone. A man, tall and confident, came around from the back and put his hand on the small of her back. Emma laughed. A genuine, bright laugh Tyler hadn't heard in months. Together, they disappeared into room 7 without even looking around. The betrayal hit Tyler like a punch to the gut. He sat frozen, staring at the door they vanished behind. Feeling like the ground had been ripped out from under him, the woman he trusted more than anyone was just a few yards away. With someone else. He didn't know how long he sat there. Minutes? Hours? The only thing he knew was that he couldn't leave without knowing everything, and as a dangerous idea formed in his mind. An idea that would change everything. Tyler gritted his teeth and started the engine, because if Emma thought she could betray him so easily, she was about to find out just how wrong she was. Keep watching, because in the next chapter, Tyler decides to take action, and what he discovers next will break your heart even more. Don't miss it. The story is just getting started. Coming up in the next chapter. Tyler's mind raced as he sat behind the wheel, hidden under the thick shadow of an old oak tree at the edge of the motel's lot. His heart was hammering so hard, he could hear it over the low hum of passing traffic. He knew he couldn't just storm into the room. That would only create a scene, and Emma could spin the story any way she wanted. No. He needed proof. Proof that would be undeniable, that would leave her no room for lies or excuses. He reached into his glove compartment and pulled out a small pocket camera he had used years ago during a hiking trip. It was old, but it still worked perfectly. His hands trembled as he turned it on and checked the battery. Full charge. Taking a deep breath, Tyler slipped out of the car, moving quietly along the edge of the building. The peeling paint and broken neon sign of the Whispering Pines felt almost symbolic now. The decay of something that once looked fine from a distance. He found a spot near room 7 where the blinds were slightly open. The thin, tattered curtain inside fluttered every time a breeze blew through the broken window frame. Tyler crouched low and peered through the gap. What he saw made his blood run cold. Inside, Emma sat on the bed, laughing and talking animatedly with the man from earlier. A man Tyler didn't recognize. They were drinking wine straight from plastic cups. And the way Emma leaned into him, the way her hand brushed against his arm, left no doubts about her intentions. Tyler lifted the camera and started recording. He zoomed in, capturing the casual touches, the private smiles, the closeness that was supposed to belong only to him. Every second of footage felt like a knife twisting deeper into his chest. He watched as the man leaned over and whispered something into Emma's ear. She giggled. That same giggle she used to reserve for Tyler, and pulled him closer. Their lips met in a slow, deliberate kiss. Tyler squeezed his eyes shut for a second, trying to stop the wave of nausea rising inside him. But he forced himself to keep filming. He needed this. When he finally pulled back, his breathing was ragged. He had enough, more than enough. But instead of feeling victorious for catching her, Tyler felt hollow. This wasn't some movie. This was real life. His real life, crumbling in front of him like a sandcastle in a storm. For a moment, Tyler considered confronting them right there, barging into the room and shattering the fantasy world they thought they were safe in. But then a darker, colder idea took root in his mind. If Emma wanted to play dirty, he would beat her at her own game, and he would make sure she never saw it coming. Stay with us, because in the next chapter, Tyler begins planning something that will leave you speechless. You won't believe what he does next. It's the twist that changes everything. Coming up next. Tyler sat back in his car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly that his knuckles turned white. The footage he had just recorded was saved, clear and undeniable. But now came the hardest part, deciding what to do with it. He knew confronting Emma immediately would only give her the chance to lie, to cry, to manipulate him into forgiving her. No, he needed to think smarter. He needed to make sure there was no escape, no redemption she could fabricate to save herself. An idea sparked in Tyler's mind, so dangerous and electrifying that it almost scared him. He would set a trap, not a physical one, but an emotional one. One that would expose Emma completely with her own words, her own actions. He pulled out his phone and, after a deep breath, sent her a simple message. Hey, I miss you. When are you coming home? He wanted to see how she'd answer. Would she lie? Would she pretend she was somewhere else? Minutes later, her reply came through. Sorry, babe. Work is crazy. Might be late. Love you. Tyler stared at the message, his stomach turning. She was sitting in a cheap motel room with another man, her lipstick smeared, pretending she was still the faithful wife she had promised to be. But Tyler wasn't just going to catch her in the lie. He was going to build something bigger, a web she would walk right into, blind and smiling. He quickly opened his laptop and started preparing. He created a new email address, anonymous and untraceable, and began crafting a message. It was addressed to Emma's parents, to their mutual friends, even to her boss. Attached was the footage. No words, no explanations. Just the truth in raw, painful clarity. But he wouldn't send it yet. No. He needed to time it perfectly. He needed Emma to confess first, to dig her own grave with her lies before the world saw the reality. Tyler set the timer on his email. 48 hours. In 2 days, unless he canceled it, the videos would be sent to everyone they both knew. He sat back, feeling the cold satisfaction settle in. There was no turning back now, and as the rain began to drizzle down onto the windshield, blurring the neon lights of the motel, Tyler realized one thing. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about justice. You absolutely cannot miss what happens next. Tyler's plan takes a sharp, dangerous turn, and the consequences will leave you questioning everything. Get ready, because in the next chapter, everything begins to spiral even faster. Coming up next. The next evening, Tyler sat in their living room, pretending everything was normal. Emma walked through the door, acting exhausted, dropping her bag by the entrance with an exaggerated sigh. Tyler fought the urge to confront her right there, but forced himself to stay calm. "Rough day at work?" he asked casually, watching her face for any hint of guilt. Emma nodded quickly, avoiding his eyes, muttering something about a stressful meeting and an overbearing boss. Tyler nodded along, pretending to believe every word, while deep inside, his anger simmered dangerously. Then, with a smile so rehearsed it almost hurt, Tyler suggested something unexpected. "How about we go away for the weekend? Just the two of us. Get a little motel out of town. Disconnect from everything." Emma hesitated for a second. Tyler caught it. That tiny flicker of fear in her eyes, but she masked it almost instantly, forcing a smile. "That sounds amazing," she said, leaning down to kiss his forehead. Tyler knew she was calculating, trying to figure out if she could juggle her affair around this sudden trip. He decided to press even harder. "I'll book it right now," he said eagerly. "Tomorrow night, just us." Emma agreed, but Tyler noticed the tension in her voice, the stiffness in her shoulders. He could almost hear the gears turning in her head, scrambling for a plan. As soon as she went to the shower, Tyler grabbed her phone from her bag. He didn't even need her password. He knew it by heart. Scrolling through her messages, he quickly found a conversation with a contact saved only as, The latest message chilled him. Tomorrow night? You promised. Don't back out again." Emma had replied just a few minutes before she came home. "Emma, I'll find a way. I'll say I am stuck at work or something." Tyler's heart pounded. She was already planning to ditch their weekend to be with this mystery man, and she still had the audacity to pretend everything was fine. Instead of confronting her, Tyler did something far more ruthless. He booked the motel, the same cheap one he had caught her sneaking into before, the same place she thought was her secret haven. But this time he booked 2 rooms, one for them and one directly across the hall. Tyler's trap was almost ready. All he had to do was wait, and Emma would walk right into it just like he planned. You won't believe what happens when Tyler's trap finally springs, and the twist that neither he nor Emma could have seen coming. Get ready for the most intense part of the story yet. You won't want to miss what happens next. Coming up next. The next night arrived faster than Tyler anticipated. He packed their overnight bags with shaking hands, carefully including a bottle of champagne and candles. Everything to make it look like a real romantic getaway. Emma acted normal, almost too normal, laughing at his jokes and holding his hand during the drive. They arrived at the rundown motel just as the sun was setting behind the hills. The parking lot was nearly empty, the neon vacancy sign flickering weakly in the warm dusk. Emma barely concealed her discomfort at the location. Wrinkling her nose as they checked in, Tyler smiled at her warmly, masking his true emotions with terrifying ease. He made sure they got room 206, and booked room 208 for himself without Emma suspecting a thing. Once they entered the room together, Tyler unpacked casually, Setting up the champagne and turning on some soft music, Emma played along, but Tyler could tell she was anxious, checking her phone every few minutes, pretending to scroll mindlessly through social media. Her eyes flickered toward the door whenever a car pulled into the parking lot. Tyler could practically hear the gears turning in her mind, scrambling for an excuse to leave. Finally, about an hour later, Emma stood up and forced a smile. "I am going to grab some snacks from the vending machine," she said lightly. Grabbing her purse, Tyler nodded, pretending to be absorbed in his phone. As soon as she left, Tyler slipped out the door of room 206, crept across the hallway, and quietly unlocked room 208. He positioned himself behind the cracked window blinds, waiting with a heart that pounded so loudly he thought it might give him away. Minutes passed. Then, a black SUV pulled into the lot. Emma, standing by the vending machine, immediately straightened her posture and glanced around nervously. A tall man stepped out of the SUV. Someone Tyler had never seen before. Dark hair, expensive clothes, a smug smile that made Tyler's blood boil. Emma hurried over to him, and without a second of hesitation, threw her arms around him. They kissed passionately, right there in the dim parking lot. As if they didn't have a care in the world, Tyler's hands trembled with rage, but he forced himself to stay quiet, to keep watching, knowing the real revenge was yet to come. Emma led the man toward room 210, just 2 doors down from where Tyler was hidden. She had made her plan so carefully, except for one fatal mistake. Tyler was 2 steps ahead. What he was about to do would change everything, and Emma would never see it coming. You want to believe what Tyler does next? Stay tuned, because the real nightmare for Emma is only just beginning. Coming up next. Tyler waited until Emma and the stranger disappeared into room 210. The second the door closed behind them, he moved quickly but silently, pulling out his phone to record everything. His hands were steady now. Too much was at stake for hesitation. He crept closer to room 210, staying out of sight of the window but close enough to hear faint laughter and murmurs leaking through the thin motel walls. He pressed record, capturing the sounds, the undeniable evidence of Emma's betrayal. Every whispered giggle, every kiss, every word. But Tyler wasn't just collecting proof. He had a bigger plan, one that would leave Emma utterly devastated, not just exposed. Earlier that day, Tyler had spoken to the motel manager, pretending he was planning a surprise for his wife's birthday. With a few extra dollars slipped discreetly across the counter, the manager agreed to a simple favor: activate the motel's security cameras around room 210 at Tyler's signal. Now, Tyler texted a single emoji, a thumbs up, to the manager. Within seconds, the outdoor hallway camera's red light blinked on, recording everything. Emma's betrayal wasn't going to stay hidden in the dark. It was about to be caught from every angle, undeniable and humiliating. Tyler heard the sound of a zipper and soft laughter from behind the door. He clenched his jaw but stayed focused, knowing that blowing up now would ruin everything he had so carefully set in motion. Then, for the final piece of the puzzle, Tyler did something even colder. He sent a text message to Emma's family group chat. A simple, "Hey, surprise, Emma's getting a special night tonight," along with the address of the motel. He knew her mother, her sister, and her brother were all the kind of people who couldn't resist curiosity, and a short drive to the motel was nothing for them. Now, it was only a matter of waiting for her world to implode, and Tyler planned to be right there to watch every second of it. But what he didn't know was that he wasn't the only one setting a trap tonight. Get ready, because in the next part, the real shocking twist will hit harder than you can imagine. Find out what happens next. Tyler's heart raced as he leaned against the wall, hiding in the shadows of the narrow motel hallway. He heard the faint sound of tires crunching against the gravel outside. Exactly the sound he had been waiting for. He peered around the corner and saw Emma's family pulling into the parking lot. One by one, their faces filled with confusion and curiosity. He ducked back as her mother, her sister Lily, and her brother Josh stepped out of their cars. Looking around suspiciously, Tyler grinned to himself, imagining the explosion that was about to happen. Everything was unfolding exactly according to his plan, almost too perfectly. He sent a quick text to the manager, signaling him to keep recording the hallway feed. The hallway camera would catch every second of what was about to go down. Tyler wanted Emma to be haunted forever by the looks on her family's faces when they realized what she was doing. As he heard the familiar shuffle of footsteps approaching, Tyler braced himself. He imagined Emma opening the door, in shock, scrambling to cover herself and explain the unexplainable. He imagined the horror on her mother's face, the disgust in her brother's glare. But just as her mother reached for the door to room 210, something unexpected happened. The door didn't open. Instead, it remained tightly shut. And then, from behind Tyler, another door creaked open. He turned sharply, adrenaline spiking. From room 212, the door Emma had pretended not to know about. A tall man in a hoodie stepped out. He wasn't the stranger Emma had gone into the room with. He was someone else entirely, and in his hand, he held a camera, aimed directly at Tyler. Before Tyler could react, the man spoke. "Smile, buddy. You're the one getting played tonight." Everything around Tyler started spinning. He stumbled back, trying to understand what was happening. As Emma's family stared in confusion between him and the strange cameraman, a slow, horrifying realization began to creep over Tyler. He wasn't the puppet master here. He was the puppet, and he had just walked into someone else's trap. But the true shock, it was still waiting around the corner. You won't believe what happens next. The real betrayal is only just beginning. Stay tuned to find out in the next part. Tyler froze, his mind racing to catch up with what was happening. The man with the camera smirked and stepped closer, while Emma's family stood a few feet away, utterly bewildered. Emma's voice rang out from behind Tyler, cold, deliberate, and dripping with satisfaction. "You really thought you were the only one setting traps? Huh, Tyler?" she said, stepping into the hallway, fully dressed and completely composed. There was no shame, no panic in her eyes, only pure, controlled fury. She pointed to the man with the camera. "Meet Eric. He's a private investigator, and also my cousin." Tyler's stomach dropped. The room spun as he realized that everything, the odd text messages, the secretive behavior, even the affair he thought he had discovered, had been orchestrated by Emma herself. He hadn't caught her cheating. She had baited him into exposing himself. Emma turned to her stunned family. "You wanted to know why I didn't trust Tyler?" she said, her voice cracking slightly with raw emotion. "Because he never trusted me first." Eric tossed Tyler a flash drive, which landed at his feet. "Everything you've been doing behind her back? Every suspicious move? It's all on here," Eric said flatly. "And you just made it 1,000 times worse by trying to humiliate her in front of her family." Tyler bent down slowly, his hands trembling. But Emma's mother spoke up first. "We believed in you, Tyler," she said, her voice low and hurt. "And you turned out to be exactly what she feared." Tyler opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. His throat felt like it was closing. He realized, in a crushing wave, that he hadn't just lost Emma, he had lost everything. Her trust, her family, his dignity. The hallway was suffocatingly silent for a moment that felt like a lifetime. Then Emma took a final step closer, her eyes locked onto his. "I loved you," she whispered, "but now, I don't even recognize you." Without waiting for a response, she turned and walked away, her family following her, leaving Tyler standing alone with the weight of his betrayal suffocating him. But just when it seemed like things couldn't get any worse, Tyler noticed another figure stepping into the hallway. Someone he knew far too well, someone he never thought would be here. And this time, the real nightmare was about to begin. Don't miss what's coming next. The final twist will leave you speechless. Stay tuned to find out. The figure that stepped into the hallway was none other than Claire, Tyler's ex-girlfriend, the one he had secretly been meeting while still married to Emma. She stood there confidently, a small, mocking smile on her lips, holding a thick folder in her hand. Emma didn't even turn around when Claire entered. It was clear this was all part of the plan. Tyler's heart pounded violently against his ribs. He tried to speak, to explain, to deny, but no words could form. Claire casually walked up to him and tossed the folder at his chest. "Everything you've been hiding from Emma is in there," Claire said sharply. "Every lie, every late-night meeting, every receipt, every secret message." Tyler's fingers fumbled as he caught the folder, but it was pointless now. Emma's family already looked at him as if he were a stranger. Someone disgusting they never wanted near their daughter again. The damage was irreversible. Emma finally turned around, her face composed but her eyes full of hurt. "I needed you to see who you really are, Tyler," she said softly, but there was a razor edge to her voice. "Not the man you pretend to be, but the man you've been all along." Tyler dropped the folder to the ground. Papers spilled out everywhere. Screenshots of texts, photos of him entering hotels with Claire, even bank transactions he thought no one knew about. It was like watching his entire world shatter into 1,000 tiny pieces right at his feet. "I loved you once," Emma continued, her voice trembling for just a second before she gathered herself. "But I love myself more now." Without another word, she walked past him, leading her family out of the hallway and into the crisp night air. Claire gave Tyler one last glance, almost pitying, before she followed Emma out. And Tyler? He was left standing alone in the middle of the cheap motel hallway, surrounded by the wreckage of everything he had destroyed with his own hands.
No explanations.
No second chances, just silence, as the door swung shut behind them, leaving Tyler isolated and broken. He finally realized the brutal truth. He hadn't just lost Emma, he had lost every piece of the life he once thought was secure, and no one, absolutely no one, was coming back to save him. Thank you for following this emotional roller coaster. What do you think Tyler deserved after everything he did? Let's talk about it in the comments.